Hi everyone, welcome back to our podcast, Moving to Australia. I'm Arun Belur, and as always, I'm joined by the founder of Debika Migration Services, Amitava Deb. Amitava, welcome back to Australia. How was your trip to India?
Thank you. Good morning. Good afternoon. The trip was good, hectic. I'm back.
Today we will discuss something that is very close to your heart, which is work and holiday and working
Mhm.
holiday visa. So, for those of you listening who are not aware, this visa is for young adults who want an
Mhm.
extended holiday in Australia and will also be able to work here to fund their stay.
Yeah, did
So,
you say workaholic visa?
no,
Just
no,
kidding.
working holiday and work and
Yeah, this
holiday.
is for those who are workaholics, right? They want to come here and work.
Yes. So let's start with the obvious question because it says it's for young adults, right? So let's
Hmm.
qualify that when they mean young adults. So what's the age eligibility for both visas?
There are two working holiday visa subclasses, subclass 417 and subclass 462. Both these visas have different set of eligible countries, passport holders from eligible countries. For subclass 462, the age limit is up to the age of 31, meaning they are eligible from the age of 18 till they turn 31. For the other one, subclass 417, which is the working holiday visa, certain countries have a little bit of a relaxation, and their age can be up to the age of 35. So, which means 35 onwards, 18 to 35 onwards, till they turn 36. One is working holiday visa, the other one is work and holiday visa. Don't ask me why the difference in nomenclature, but that's how it is.
But just to be clear on that, you mentioned the upper age bracket, which is 35 in case of 417 for some eligible countries, and for 462 it is 30, 31.
Mm-hmm.
So if one puts in their application when they're 30, let's say,
Mm-hmm.
for a 462, and then they turn 31 and their visa has yet to be granted, will they
Mm-hmm.
still be granted the visa?
Yes. So it says if you have made your application while you are 30 or 35, as the country may be, but before the decision has been made, they can still be granted the visa if all requirements are met.
So coming to the big question, like how do you compare and contrast the two? What's the big difference between the working holiday visa subclass 417 and the working holiday visa subclass 462?
So let's count the differences. Number one, the subclass numbers. One is subclass 417, the other one is subclass 462. Second difference, the list of countries. So subclass 417 has one list of countries, which includes the UK, France, and a lot of European countries, plus Japan and Hong Kong. Whereas subclass 462 has a longer list of countries, includes the United States of America, China. China is suspended, by the way, and a few other countries. Countries, yeah. Third one, third one is about the age. Subclass 417. Some countries they have relaxed the age requirement, so the applicants can be up to the age of 35 or rather 30 till they turn 36. And these countries are Canada, Denmark, France, Ireland, Italy, and I think it is UK. Yeah, that's it. Whereas for 462, the age is up to the age of 31. Next one. How many did I say? Three, right?
Three.
So far? Yeah, the fourth one. Fourth one is for subclass 462. Some countries, the passport holders would require a letter of support from their government. 417, no support letter is required. Are you counting?
Yeah, that's four.
Yep, 4.
So when they say letter of support, that is to support their stay here in Australia?
Just a letter saying we support their application. Because I guess there could be some restriction in some citizens moving out because they have not done mandatory military training, maybe. No, that could be one of the
Hmm.
reasons. Um, fifth one, right?
Yes.
Fifth one is uh, they need to, subclass 462, they all need to have functional English. They need to prove that they have functional English, which means they either need to have studied in English medium, the medium of instruction should have in English at the educational institute where they have studied. If it is tertiary education, 2 years. If it is schooling, 5 years. If not, they'll have to provide IELTS or PT score of functional English, which translates to 4.5 average in IELTS or 35 in PT, I think.
Now, is there any restriction on where they can work while they're here?
Um, there's no restriction to work, but if they want second and the subsequent working holiday or work and holiday visas, they have to ensure that at least 3 months for the first one, at least 3 months have been in a designated area in an eligible specified industry.
Okay, does the government also list out what they
Yeah,
mean by specified
yep,
industry?
they do. They do. I'm not going to go through the list
Hmm.
because the list is not a static list. It
Yeah.
is subject to changes. One has to look into the list and say, okay, these are the designated areas. Usually, all the big cities are excluded. So you cannot be living in Sydney and saying, I have lived in Sydney, it is a designated area, please give me the next one. No, they have to go into all these designated regional areas mainly and work in specified industry to be eligible for the second and the subsequent ones.
Now, when one applies for the 417 or the 462, does the person
Mhm.
need to be within Australia or outside Australia when they apply for their first work and holiday visa or working holiday visa?
Yes, the first one has to be outside Australia. The second and the third one can be within Australia, provided they hold a substantive visa, meaning they should be holding some visa, or their last visa should not have expired more than 28 days ago.
So, if someone is holding another visa, let's say, and they apply for the 417 and 462, and it's
Mhm.
granted, what happens to that other visa that they were holding?
Well, this is true for any visa one applies for. Whenever you apply for a visa and it is granted, your earlier visa is wiped away. So one has to be very, very careful. If you're holding a working holiday visa and you apply for another visa, I'm talking about the reverse situation.
Yeah.
You apply for another visa, maybe a tourist visa, your working with holiday visa is gone forever. The same is true for permanent residence holders. You hold a PR and then you wanted an RRV to come back, but instead you made a mistake, you applied for a tourist visa. So you now have a visitor visa granted, so your PR is gone.
Really?
Hmm. So whatever the current visa is granted replaces all the earlier ones. At any point of time, you cannot hold more than one visa. That's the rule.
Wow. Now, is there an annual limit on the number of visas granted to applicants from eligible countries for either of them?
Um, Either of them for 417, there is no limit. There's no cap. But 462, there is a cap, per country cap. It's all listed in the Home Affairs website, except United States of America. There is no cap for United States of America citizens.
So moving along,
Yep.
How does one become eligible for the second or third work and holiday visa or working holiday visa? Because you mentioned that there's three of them: first, second, and third.
Yeah, for the second one, one needs to be working in a designated area in the specified industry for 3 months. For the third one, you have to be working for 6 months in the previous one while holding the second working holiday visa.
Okay. So when you're holding the first one, you have to work for 3 months to be eligible to apply for the second. And when you're on the
Mhm.
second, work in that designated field for 6 months, then you qualify to apply for the third.
Correct.
Okay. Now, do you see any changes in the foreseeable future for any of the eligible countries? Are there any changes being implemented
Mhm.
coming in the
Yeah,
near future?
for UK passport holders, from 1st of January 2025 or 24. Next year is 24, isn't it?
Yes, 24. You're still jet
So,
lagged, I think, from your
yeah.
trip to India.
So, 1st of January 2024, they do not have to meet any of those requirements. So, they can be working anywhere, any industry, UK passport holders, and they can still get the second and the third working holiday visas.
So they could even be working in Sydney, Melbourne, or Brisbane.
Yes.
You mentioned that they have to complete the specified work in a designated industry for
Mhm.
3 months when you're on the first visa and for 6 months when you're on the second visa to be eligible to apply for the third one. So,
Mhm.
do you need to complete the specified work in one go or can it be spread out over the calendar year?
It can be spread out as long as the total number of days add up to 3 months or the 6 months. So, usually I suggest all my clients to maintain a diary, a daily diary saying, this is the day he worked here, it is the day he worked here, because a lot of this work would be casual. So, as long as the diary is maintained and he's able to, or he or she is able to substantiate, then the requirements are met.
So, do you suggest that one not get paid in cash so that they can prove that they have worked for that specified time?
Paid in, well, I would suggest at least they should get paid into the bank because otherwise, how do you really prove that you got paid? It's going to be a little tricky. Not that there's any directive saying you cannot be paid in cash, but if you're paid in cash and you're paid taxes, it should be largely okay as long as the employer supports the application from the designated location and industry, stating that this is what they have done, then it should be fine.
Coming to taxes, which you just touched upon. So, when you work in Australia on this visa, are you supposed to pay your taxes here?
When someone works in Australia, they are liable to pay taxes. Now, whether they will fall within the tax income threshold, it depends on how much they are paid, right? In most cases, they may be um, within the tax, the lowest income threshold, so they do not need to pay taxes. But at least they have to file the tax return to demonstrate their income and pay taxes if required. So tax payment of taxes is mandatory for anyone who works in Australia, or at least lodgement of tax return.
So, let's assume that someone is on their third 417 or 462 visa.
Mhm,
Now, they have a job that they really like and they don't want to move back home. Now,
mhm,
they apply for a 189, which is a permanent residence, and they get
mhm,
that.
mhm.
So, does the time that you've spent on the work and holiday visa also count towards your citizenship requirement, which basically mandates that you work in Australia for 7 years, well, 4 years, and off that 1 year has to be on permanent residency, right? If I'm not mistaken.
That is correct, yes. They do not need to be working. The citizenship requirement is that out of 4 years, The first 3 years, one must be a resident, meaning living in Australia. So that does count towards the citizenship period.
Oh, that's really great. Anything else you want to add?
Yes, so with respect to the countries to be added in the future, we have been hearing of India to be added in the list, although it is not officially announced. There will be a cap of 1,000 for India. Philippines has been added with a cap of 200. Yeah,
That's the official number, 200?
yes, up to 200 young Filipinos to enjoy a 12-month holiday in each other's country. So it's more like a 200 Filipinos will come here and 200 Australians might go to Philippines.
So this is like a reciprocal program that Australia has with all of these eligible countries?
Not all. With Philippines, they have this.
Okay.
It's probably in Philippines they have a similar uh, visa.
So this new agreement that Australia will get into with India,
Mhm.
is it based on the new trade deal that these two countries have signed recently?
Yes, that was in December last year.
And is there any news from the government when this will go into effect?
Well, I think it should have been in effect already because someone came to me the other day showing his grant letter for working holiday visa from India, but I do not have any notification of this to have started. I need to check.
Okay. When you do hear, just notify
I'll let you
everyone
know.
using your social channels.
Yes, we'll do that.
So thank you, Amitava, for your time, as always. It was good talking to
Thank
you and
you.
seeing you again. For
All
those of
right.
you listening, subscribe to our podcast if you haven't done so. And if you want to follow us on our social channel, the links to all the social channels will be in our description. Thank you for listening and see you next week. Goodbye.